David, just to remind us why the players take the knee, this was because of the Black Lives Matter incident that inspired inspired that movement.
Well, the George Floyd incident.
George Floyd, that's the name. Thank you for reading my mind. I've not been thinking about him so much today. I've been thinking about quite a lot of other stuff, particularly
so much going on,
Qatar. Yeah. But do you think it's right that they still do that, and yet they shied away from making this statement about Qatar's homophobic, enshrined in their law, homophobic attitude?
The big story here is there was a football match and England won 6-2, and everyone just wants to be interested in football. We don't want all of this politics and all this nonsense and all this wokery surrounding the football matches. You know, I think the England football team should just back off of all this political stuff. It is virtue signalling and it is wokery. You know, taking the knee to support Black Lives Matter, which actually is a movement and an organisation which wants to defund the police, smash capitalism and disrupt the nuclear family. That's what they're supporting. I don't think that many people who are football fans in the stadiums or even at home support that kind of thing.
I think the charity Kick It Out would really disagree with you on that, David.
Well,
racism is a massive problem in football, and they should take the knee and not stand up until racism in football is sorted out.
Racism in this country is not a problem. Racism in football in this country is not a problem.
I think by saying that, you're gaslighting a lot of black players.
Look, there might be one or two people who go to a football match and are racist, OK? The same as in society, there's one or two people, there's a small percentage of people who are racist. But the problem with this is that there is this narrative that this country is systemically and institutionally racist, when it is not. And that's gaslighting. And the football players should not be giving into that.
Isn't it fair to say, Amy, that the superstars on the pitch today were black British players? And I guess that's what you would say, is we don't need to make these political gestures. They're showing us how successful they are, that the colour of their skin has not limited their ability to represent their country. They were amazing. They played brilliantly. They are talented. They are hardworking. Maybe we don't need them to make these statements anymore.
No, I disagree. I think that whilst racism remains a problem in football and around the world globally, then we still need to make these stands, particularly when this World Cup is literally built off the deaths of migrant workers who died making the stadiums that you're playing in. The fact that the World Cup is in Qatar makes it impossible to remove it from politics.
And of course,
that is an issue. I do agree. You know, the way that migrant workers are treated, not just for, you know, building the football stadiums, but in lots of Middle Eastern countries in general, they're treated appallingly. Their passports get taken off them, so they can't go back and they can't leave and so on. They have to get permission to leave. It's a terrible, terrible thing. But that doesn't mean that football players have to take the knee and wear rainbow armbands and basically ram the rainbow down everybody's throat.
That's what those players, that's what those players find important.
But isn't it also true, the great irony, of course, I would say that perhaps racism is no longer a problem in football. We don't have any black managers, I don't think. So, we can have a discussion about that. But what is a problem in football, actually, is homophobia. We still have no out players. There must be, statistically, there must be several Premier League footballers who are in relationships with men. That is an issue, and if they ever wanted to make a point about it, this would have been the time, wouldn't it, David?
Well, maybe not. I don't know.
I mean, they would have got arrested.
You don't. I mean, yeah.
But no, actually,
in Qatar, fine. But I still think that, you know, I think actually on this they're both wrong. To be honest, I mean, that's my opinion. FIFA are censorious. I mean, before, as well as censoring this, remember about 6 years ago, they censored the England team and the Scotland team from wearing a poppy armband, and that ban was overturned. So, you know, I think there is over-censoriousness from FIFA. You know, I do believe in free speech. But on the other hand, I don't think it's right for the football players to be wearing these political statements, because the poppy is a cultural statement. It's about our history, is honouring our war dead. The rainbow is a political statement. It's saying, I agree with the political aims and agendas of the extreme LGBT movement, which at the moment is trying to bring gender confusion to schools and children and queer the curriculum and all this other things.
I think that's a bit of a jump there, David.
No, it is.
And
that's what the LGBT movement is pushing
really,
at the moment.
the worst case scenario for today would have been Harry Kane would have got a yellow card, right? So I think what they're saying at this point is that a yellow card is more of a risk than standing up for LGBT rights, and I think that's the problem for me.
Well, I mean, look, if he'd got a yellow card because he wore the armband, and then he got a yellow card because he tripped somebody up.
We can't win at football. Like, it's football over LGBT
Amy
rights at this
Nicole.
point.
It's our national sport.
You've got to think of your team, and you've got to think of your country as well. These people are picked, and they're paid a lot of money to represent the country. They're not paid a lot of money to represent the country and push their own political views. They're not representing themselves individually. They're in the England team. So they can't be going and doing that and risking losing the match.
But we, as a society, England, stand up for LGBT rights. That's part of our society and our cultural values. So surely we should be putting that across when we
Depends
play
what you mean by
internationally.
LGBT rights. I mean, if you...
To not be arrested or sentenced to death.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. I agree with that. But there's other issues as well. That is being.
Good, I'm glad.
It's different in Qatar to what it is in this country. But it's it's a progression.
The other elephant in the room, of course, with this match is the fact that we were playing Iran. And Iran at the moment, with the uprising there, they've got 15,000 political prisoners. Most of them are women. It was inspired by the death of a woman who was beaten to death because she didn't have her hair tucked within her scarf. Now, that for me is almost a bigger story. The fact, should Iran even be allowed to play in the World Cup?
Should we have been playing against Iran?
Exactly. I would go so far as to say maybe on the day it should be apolitical, and maybe Iran should not have been allowed to play in the first place, Amy.
But then what did Iran do today? They didn't sing their national anthem. They took a stand against the regime in their country, and they made it very clear and apparent what they think of that. So that is the strongest thing, and I think really that's what our team should have done. But I don't want to put this at the door of the players, the fact that they didn't wear the rainbow armband. I want to put this at the door of FIFA.
That's also true, because what occurred to me when I saw them on the pitch today, they're babies. I mean, he was 19, the guy that was our star player today. These poor kids. Honestly, David, I looked at them and I thought, I'm not sure you could show me Iran on a map, bless you. I thought, I'm not sure. They've left school very young. They're not going to be... Marcus Rashford perhaps is an exception. He's very politically engaged. But these kids are not necessarily politically engaged. They've kicked a football all their life and they are brilliant at it, but they're pretty infantilised by that sport.
But there you go. You sort of make a good point there, because they're so young. Are they being coerced to wear this rainbow, or coerced not to wear the rainbow? Should they be able to make their own decisions as individuals?
I think you're doing them a real disservice.
I might be, Amy. That's why you're here to tell me I'm wrong. Go for it.
But I do think a lot of the players have taken an active stand with the Black Lives Matter movement, and they have discussed taking the knee. And that's something that is important to them, and they do know a lot about.
That's true. Do you think they do? Do you think if you said to them, why are you taking the knee and what does it mean? Do you think they'd understand fully?
I don't know if they do, but that's why they need to be educated into what this movement actually is about. It's a far-left Marxist movement that is actually spreading this narrative that this country is systemically racist when it's not, and we need to counter that.
Or
And we
it's
need
more
to say
just
to them,
seen as a
"Don't get
symbol
involved in
of
it."
anti-racism at this point.
Right.